everybody, I'm Tom and you are watching me play Warframe. Today we're going to look at my Nidus build. This is Nidus. This is the deluxe skin for Nidus and it looks freaking cool. He has eyeballs everywhere and like ghost skeleton hands on the front of his armor. It's just very, very cool. I'll show off what his armored version looks like later. You'll understand when I go over his abilities if you're unaware of what Nidus does, but first things first, let's actually go over his abilities. Firstly, his passive. If Nidus is killed with at least 15 stacks of mutation, again, I'll explain this more thoroughly in a second, those 15 stacks it consumes, this grants 5 seconds of invulnerability and restores health to 50%. So essentially, after you get enough stacks up, he is functionally invulnerable. He also has a lot of health and a lot of armor, which makes him... I mean, you're not likely to die when you have a huge amount of stacks, but if you do, it doesn't matter, because he just doesn't die. It's a pretty good passive, really. He essentially does the no you of death. But his first ability is kind of his bread and butter, is Virulence. You shoot a big line of like fungal growth type stuff out in front of you. You rupture the ground with damaging fungal growth that steals energy from each enemy it strikes. For every 5 enemies hit, the infestation mutates, multiplying its destructive force. Okay, so essentially you want to hit as many enemies as possible with this ability. And doing so will, 1, gain you stacks, which was mentioned in his passive. Essentially you gain up to 100 stacks, which are like... it's like a secondary energy form, essentially. It also buffs him in lots of different ways as well. But this is his main way of gaining stacks, is you hit one and every enemy you hit will give you stacks as well as energy back. So you can see here, energy refund per hit is 10, so it costs 20. It costs 40. So if you hit 4 enemies with it, it's free. If you hit 5 enemies with it or more, you're actually gaining energy by casting this ability, which is kind of insane. Excuse me. His next ability is Lava. He just tentacle pulls everything into one spot, which synergizes incredibly well with an ability where you want to hit a lot of enemies at one time. So you use your 2 and you spawn an infested pod that erupts with tendrils, latching onto nearby enemies and pulling them into it. So it's like a ball of enemies, as you can see in this little descriptor here. If you then use your 1 in it, your 1 will hit all of the enemies inside there. So it's a very, very good combo there. But you see here, this one costs 25 energy, this one costs 40 energy. Now, his last 2 abilities don't cost any energy, but they do cost stacks. So you need to use the first 2 to grow your stacks, and then you can use your last 2 ability using those stacks as like a second form of energy. This one here, like, will link you with an enemy or an ally, but you bind to a target with a parasitic link. For allies, both you and the host... I'll hopefully cut that out, I just had a coughing fit, apologies. So both the host and you will deal increased damage, and if you link with an enemy, that enemy will take damage that would have been applied to you. So essentially they become like a health font for you to steal their health. Both sides of that ability are good, but at higher level stuff I feel like linking to an enemy is often the better choice. But as you can see here, it takes no energy, it takes 1 stack to do this, which is very, very cheap, because you get stacks very, very quickly at higher level stuff. Duration is like over a minute, like a minute and 13 seconds. The ally range is 64 meters, the enemy range is half that, so if you leave that range, you'll actually cut the link. The damage increase is 63% with allies, and it gives you 90% damage reduction if you link to an enemy. And finally, here's Ravenous. Gluttonous maggots swarm nearby enemies, feasting until they are hit. With virulence, they are hit with virulence and burst with infestation. The maggots benefit from mutations, and each enemy hit adds to the mutation stack. It's also worth noting that this puts an area of effect on the ground where all allies who stand in that will be healed. So this costs 3 mutation stacks. It has an explosion radius that does some damage. The damage of the little maggots is fine, but kind of irrelevant. The main reason you want to do this is that there is a 50.8 regen rate per second when you're standing on this in my current build, and it lasts for nearly like 49 seconds, nearly a minute. So anyone standing in there is going to be healing 50 health per second, which is ludicrous health regen. Like, not many enemies can kill you through that. There's a few, but definitely not many. But that's pretty much Nidus in a nutshell. You essentially use your first 2 abilities to build up stacks. which makes you stronger, and also allows you to cast your second two abilities. Okay, so let's go over the actual build. Now, it's worth noting, as this pops up, that this build is ludicrous and unnecessary. Entirely unnecessary. This is like a full Umbral build. I use my Umbral former from the Nora Knight stuff to actually put on Nidus because he benefits a lot from having all three of these on here. Again, entirely unnecessary. But, anyway. The build I've got here is Corrosive Protection, so that gets rid of some armor, which is nice. Cunning Drift for ability range. Also makes him a bit faster, but the ability range is what I like on there. Prime Continuity for a bunch of ability duration. Transient Fortitude, which gets rid of like half that duration, but adds 55% ability strength. We have Hunter Adrenaline. This is very, very good on Nidus, because as you can see here, he has no shields. So any damage he takes is going to proc Hunter Adrenaline, and it means that you really don't need to worry about energy conservation, because just get hit a few times, and as you can see with this build, he has 1500 health. You can just get hit a few times, and then you'll be fine. So, like, your energy will just be there all the time. You never really have to worry about it. 4 is Stretch. 45% ability range. Always nice. Now, we have all the Umbral mods. We have Umbral Vitality, which adds currently 700% health. Umbral Fiber, which is plus 175% armor. And Umbral Vitality, which is 60% strength. And then Augur Secrets, finally, to even more strength. So his strength is at like 250, range is 160, and duration is 123%. Now, this build is ludicrous, and this one is a much cheaper build. You can see here it takes about the same amount of slots, but that's because I have mismatched former in here. Ordinarily, you can get away with a much cheaper build by having pretty much an identical build, except you replace these Umbral mods with the non-Umbral versions. So just Intensify, Steel Fiber, and Vitality. Again, you wouldn't have an Umbra slot in here, so like this would actually cost a lot less. It would cost you wait. Oh, I gotta find my it'll be all the way at the end. Give me a second. Scroll, scroll, scroll. There we go. It'll cost you 12 rather than 15. And if you have a D slot, D polarity slot in there, that'll cut that in half again. But this is a much cheaper build to do, and again, you could even cut this down further by not having a max Transient Fortitude. You really don't need it. Like, 200% strength is fine. Like, that extra 24%, you could just cut straight off Transient Fortitude and use a cheaper Transient Fortitude in there. And in doing so, like I have one at rank 14, that's absolutely fine. It takes that down to like 214, gets you a bit more duration, which is fine. And this is like a much easier build to pull off. And you can even take Transient Fortitude to an even lower rank, like take it down to like even rank 5, it'd probably be fine. So there are ways you can do this, and like this is a perfectly acceptable build. And like over perfectly acceptable. This is just the over the top ridiculous build that I've got here. You notice here that you could also have, there we go. You could have Steel Charge in here as well. I actually have an Aura former in here, so I can use whatever I want. I think by default he has a V polarity, so you'd want Steel Charge in there probably, just for the extra points. But I changed it over to an Aura former so I could have Corrosive Protection, because I like it better. But this is it, and it's over the top and ridiculous, granted, but it makes Nidus very, very good. There aren't many Warframes that really need all of the Umbral mods, but Nidus can make use of all of them, which is a rarity and just fun to do when you can. So I'm going to ignore the level 50 test because it's irrelevant. I'm just going to do the level 145 test. Nidus is a ramp Warframe, which is to say, you can see how I cast my 2 there. I don't want to get hit by bombard rockets. There we go. You can see my stacks. Cast my 4 just so I have some healing. Parasitic Link this guy. You want to kill healers if you can, simply because they're assholes, and they will occasionally stop you from having... You can see my stacks in the bottom right going up like a motherfucker. 30 stacks already. At high level stuff, your stacks will go up ludicrously fast. But as you can see here, the way that we've got this going, I don't really need to worry about dying, ever. There we go, healer's dead. Cast your 2, it drags all the enemies in. You cast your 1 over and over again on top of them. It's worth noting as well, there's a few, like, eccentricities that you get with Nidus that not many people know about. For starters, if you push and hold your 1, you'll see the path that it travels. Bad example, give me a second. You two stop shooting me. I'll do it up here so you can see it better. If you push and hold your 1, you'll get a outline of where it's going to go. It will bounce off some walls as well. It's kind of weird in this place because some of these walls aren't actually walls, and it's a strange kind of... Whoop, I'm about to die. Go here. I guess I will die because that will show off a new feature. There we go, undying. So I'm just alive. As you can see, it took 15 stacks. Not the end of the world. I've already got those stacks back pretty much. Another thing worth noting, let's see, let's parasitic link this guy, so that's my 3. If we push and hold my 1, you'll be able to see, you don't actually see very well, but you can see there, my 1 will actually shoot out from whatever I'm linked with as well, which is really, really nice. This only works with enemies as far as I'm aware. If you link with an ally, it won't keep this going. I'll just give myself some more energy because I'm standing here wasting it. But that's pretty much it. Like, he's good at killing shit. Probably get rid of some of this armor. I have corrosive on this weapon, I'm pretty sure. There we go, a few corrosive procs should get rid of the armor. Makes things a little easier. As you can see, level 145 enemies, it still takes a while to get through their armor on the bigger enemies. But you can get through them with guns if you really, really want to. For instance, I'll go to my secondary weapon, catch a few of these enemies here. I think I killed all of them. You still alive? You are, actually. Impressive. There we go. You're still alive. I think that's everybody. But as you can see there, also, when you get over 10 stacks, you get a... Well, I think it gradually adds more armor pieces the more stacks you get, but this is what you look like when you have maximum stacks. He gets these really cool armor on his legs, his arms, his shoulders, and his face. It's hard to show the face. Do I have a thing equipped? No, I don't have a camera equipped, so I can't show this as nicely. But that's Nidus in a nutshell. He's very, very good. Particularly when you over-former the shit out of him and put all those Umbral mods on him. Because it just makes him over-the-top insane. But yeah, that is my Nidus video. He's very, very good. I like him a lot. But anyway, that's going to be it. Next time it's going to be Nidus, then Nova, I think. If alphabet works in my head correctly. So next time is going to be my Nova build. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you are not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.